Welcome to part 2 of making our Dollhouse microwave oven. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, be sure and follow the link in the video description for part 1 and then come back and watch this one. Alright, so I've got the door pattern piece here. I've put the double-sided tape and stuck it to a piece of our box. Now we're going to, and this one we're going to have to do one half of the door. We're going to do the doors in two pieces actually. The door, we need a front and a back. So first we're going to cut out that center. Don't cut yourself. Alright, do I have it? Almost. You can kind of see on the back where you need to cut to. Alright, now, come on, there we go. This can be thrown away. Now we're going to cut the cardboard, and we're actually going to peel off this pattern because what we need to do, we need to make the two layers separate. This is done a little bit differently. All right, now I'm going to try and get my tape off, so I don't have my tape still here. Now we're going to do the same thing, but this time we have to be a little more careful because we don't want these narrow pieces on the side to distort too much. So I'm going to lay this down on okay, it's still the same. Alright, now I almost knocked that on the floor. And once again, I'm going to cut this out. Luckily, it doesn't matter if we cut that center, you know, kind of get it ragged, as long as the edge of our door is looking good. It is a little harder to get the second door cut out. What's that door? Well, that doesn't matter. That's going to be too thin. I'm going to have to move this. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to cut out the second one and then I'll be back. Alright, now that I have these both cut out and they're both, and I double check that they're the same size. Now on this one we're actually going to peel off the pattern because I need my tile again. I have I have more of my poster board here. I'm going to And we need to glue these two pieces, the brown side down onto our poster board. Because both sides of the door need to be covered. And we can neaten this up when we get it all finished. When this part's done and we cut out the next section. Alright, sure that's all covered. Now, this needs to dry all the way, so I'm going to put this on it. I'm going to lay my scissors over that part, and I'm going to let that sit and dry for at least a couple of hours, and then I'll be back. Alright, so this has now sat actually overnight. So we are going to attempt to cut this center out without the ruler again. Actually, I think I'm going to need my ruler. It's that is cutting really crooked. So I like to pop these centers. It's just so much easier to control your cuts on this opening when it's still as big as possible. That's why I do the centers first. I feel I have a excuse me, I have a lot more control. Get all this cut out. Alright, now we're going to put these together and we're going to make sure that we are the same. We can fix the outside later, but we can't fix the opening later. It looks fairly good. I'm going to locate my emery board. Hold on, I need to find my emery board. Alright, emery board. Now, put these two together, and you're going to want these as even as possible. But we're not going to glue them together for a while. We've got other things to do first. When you're happy with that opening, which it's okay, it's not perfect, but it's alright. We're going to do a little touch-up painting. Now this step is optional, but we've got cardboard showing here, and we're going to have cardboard showing here. We're not going to do these edges yet. I've got just some white acrylic paint, and we just need a drop, and use the smallest paintbrush you've got, because you don't want to get this out on the outside. You just trying to put this You want to disguise that cardboard. That one, and now this one. And I like on these, I like to paint from the back side in case my brush slips. That way any paint will go down on the inside where it's going to be covered when we glue it together. But this is the frame around your window on your microwave. Now at this point you also need to make a decision. Let's get this one painted first and we'll talk about that. And this step is probably not necessary, it's just I don't like the cardboard showing here. Now, if you've got to make a decision now. We are going to use this clear, excuse me, clear plastic for our window. Do you want, if you want to be able to see what's inside your microwave, which I do, I'm going to leave this clear, but if you don't, if you want it to look more realistic, take a sponge and kind of sponge paint the back side of the plastic. That way it'll have that look of a real microwave window, because they're never completely clear. There's stuff in there to protect us from the microwaves, I guess. So I'm going to go wash my paintbrush. I'm going to let this glue or this paint dry. It'll only take a couple of minutes, and then I'll be back and we'll start our assembly of the door section. Alright, so our paint is dry, and what I've done here is I've cut a small piece. It's probably 1.5 inches, not quite 2 inches long, piece of ribbon. We're not going to use all of this. This is 7/8 inch. You don't want to go any wider than 1 inch, but not any narrower than 3/4 of an inch. This is going to be our hinge, and we're not going to use the whole length. I cut that amount just because it would be easier to work with. So I've got some tacky glue here, and I'm going to really saturate this area with tacky glue. And I'm going to position my ribbon so that it is centered top to bottom, and so that the end of it is back from the opening where our window will show. And I'm going to put more glue on top. Alright, now we're going to cut out our window. And I'm basically going to do this the same way I've done all my other cuts. I'm going to tape my plastic to the back of my window. The other thing you could do is lay the window on top, the plastic on top of this, and use like a Sharpie to draw your outline. Now cut inside the line on this one. We want it just a hair smaller than the outline of our door. Alright, double check my size. I'm going to shave off just the smallest amount. We want just a little bit of the cardboard showing all the way around, like that. Hopefully you can see that. Now, For this, I am going to switch to jewelry glue, just because I want to make sure it holds the plastic. I'm going to put my glue, trying to not put too much in because you don't want it to ooze out onto the plastic. And you'll notice I'm keeping the paper on that. I'm going to keep the paper on there until I'm ready to set the window down on my door. Because clear plastic can be an issue to find. Alright. Now, I'm going to cover the same area on this one. Alright. I'm going to have some tweezers ready. Make sure that your tape peels off, which mine is not. Alright. Now very carefully position this so that it's pretty evenly placed. It's the other one on top. And you've got a few minutes to kind of fiddle with this. Little glue oozing out. So I have a little bit of cardboard there. Alright, this needs to dry, and I think I'm going to set my glue bottle on it. Give it a little extra weight. I'm going to let that glue dry for a while, and when that's dry, I'll come back. I almost forgot a step too. We need to prep for making our handle for our door. So we're going to cut a piece of poster board into two pieces. You need 2 layers. And then put just a little bit of glue, not a whole lot, and spread it out really smoothly. You're going to want it all the way to the edges, to this edge. That way you know where to cut. And I'm actually going to set this under my tile so that it will be weighted down. I'm going to leave it sticking out so I remember that's what I did with it. And this is our door so far. It's not dry. The glue is still wet because I can still see it, but this is looking really good. Then we're going to let that dry and then we'll come back. Alright, now that our glue's had time to dry, we're going to sand these edges. We want this to look really as smooth as we can get it on this outside edge. And try not to bend the door with the plastic. Alright, now, once again, we are going to do some painting. There's my paint. So I'm going to put a little drop of paint. Now you're going to have to be really, really careful and paint. See if I can do this under camera and not... And if you feel you need to, you can do 2 coats of this paint. under camera, kind of, sort of. Trying to stay just on this edge and not getting paint down on the face of the door. Alright, I'm going to let that paint dry. It won't take long. If I decide I need to, I will put a second coat on, and when that's done, we'll put the door on the microwave. Alright, so now we are going to put our door on our microwave. So the first thing you need to do is decide which side of your door looks the best. That will be your outside. And I think for me it's this one. And we're going to trim our ribbon off. I like to cut it to size after I get ready to put it on, to attach it. Now I'm going to coat this side of the microwave in tacky glue. And I'm going to spread that out. We're not going to put our door handle on until after this is all assembled. Now, line your door up so it's lined up top and bottom, and the edge is lined up with the edge. And now we're going to do that. And now that needs to set up before we do anything else. Make sure your door is nice and straight. It's just where you want it. And then that glue needs to set up because we don't want this moving when we get ready to put the outside cover on. Alright, now that this is set, it's time to put the outside of our microwave on. And I just test fit my strip to make sure it was plenty long, and I designed this strip so that you can cut off the excess at the bottom if there is any. Now, I'm going to do this the same way I have been. I'm going to glue it on the side that's not going to be showing, or not glue it on, tape it on. I just find this is the easiest way to cut things out and make sure they're cut out exactly the way they're supposed to be. If you trace around a pattern piece, a lot of times you end up getting a lot bigger than you intended to. And then while I've got my tape, and I just, there's my handle, and here's my handle piece, I'm going to tape this onto here. We're not going to use our handle yet, but I've got my tape out, so I'm going to tape the pattern piece on there. Now, you could cut this out with a straight edge and a, that's really not helping you a lot, is it? You could cut this out with a straight edge and a rule and a knife, but I'm just going to use my scissors because I've got a nice straight line to cut up against. I'm going to be out of the camera range here to cut this out, but I'll be right back. There. Now we can see what I'm doing. That little sheet of poster board is a little awkward. Now this poster board that I've got there, it was really cool. It was a pack, I think there were 5 sheets. They were 11 by 24 inches, I want to say. And I got them at Dollar Tree. So it's really economical way to get, I'm going to put this on here. What I did was I fit this against the top. Now, we do need to take this off. Preferably the tape also, if we can. But I pre-creased that so that when I go to put it on the microwave, that way it will wrap around very nicely. Oops, I just poked a hole. That's okay. Ah, that's not going to come off. There we go. Get that off. making sure that this is lined up. We're going to crease this really well. We don't need to use a tool to crease it, we're just going to crease it. Now, some glue. Toothpick. I've got like a dozen toothpicks out with glue all over them. Make sure that you have glue along that rim. Try not to have it so much though that you ooze it out. All right, now put this piece on. Line it up. I like to line it up with the back. It's fine if it sticks out a little bit past the front. Actually, let's line it up with the front. If it sticks out a little bit in the back, that's okay. Now, let's put some glue on the end. By spreading our tacky glue out, it makes it a lot more tacky. It makes it more able to hold on. Make sure you're staying straight and make sure that this bend is nice and tight. Now, the other end, right over our ribbon. You can see the ribbon here where the ribbon will be in a sandwich here. That down nice and neat. Make sure that your corners look really good. Turn it upside down. Crease that corner. I've still got tape on there. And there was quite a bit of glue left on my toothpick, so I'm going to wipe that off. Make sure that whatever you do, the most important part right now, don't glue your door shut, and don't get glue on the clear plastic because that will make a mark on it. I'm actually going to put my glue onto this because I want to make sure that I have glue all the way to the end. I don't like to spread the glue directly on the poster board because it tends to buckle it if you do, but for that little area it will be fine. Now make sure everything is pushed down tight. Make sure it's right where you want it. And while we've got our glue out, we're going to find our control panel. Work the glue all the way to the corners. Make sure that your control panel is up. There's a little clock at the top. Oops. And let the door stay open and stick it onto something like a ceramic tile that it won't get stuck to if you have glue, and let it dry all the way. And when that's dry, I'll be back and we'll make that door stay shut and see how this looks. One thing I almost forgot, make sure that your door will shut, and mine does. And because this is positioned just right, it's actually holding the door shut. But don't leave the door closed while it's drying. Just check that it will shut and make any adjustments on this front panel, and then we'll let the glue dry. Okay, now our glue is dry enough that it won't stick the door down. So we're going to cut out our handle. And I made the handle extra long so that you can cut off the extra. That way it'll fit exactly to your, depending on how much of a curve you give it. Cut out just a little bit more there. All right, now let's get this tape and pattern off, because we definitely want the tape off the back. If I can get it. I'm going to turn the camera off and get this peeled apart, and then I'll be back. All right, so we've got our handle. So I am going to actually just kind of move the, kind of curve the middle of it over a pen, just to give it a little curl. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shut the door on the microwave. I am going to get some glue. And if you had super glue, this would be a good place to use it, because it would help to hold this in place. We're going to do the top end. So I'm going to kind of flatten the top, just a little curve like that. And I'm going to put glue just on there. And I'm going to line this up. I'm trying to center it in this, oops, in this space between the window and the edge of the door, and line up the top with the top of the door. Get it lined up so it's nice and straight, and then that glue needs to dry, because we need that to hold tight when we do the other end. Alright, I think my glue is dry now. I went off and ate my lunch, and now it's up to you how much of a curve you put in your handle. I'm going to put, I think, about here. So kind of crimp it up, put out a little fresh glue. This should be the last glue we need. And put glue right where you want that handle to touch. Now this isn't, I would not use the handle to actually open the door. I would use the door, I would open the door via the door itself. Let's just cut my scissors. Oops. Okay, well, I'm going to cut it off and then squeeze it back down. Cut it off even with the bottom place, and let that glue dry, and the dolls have a microwave. I hope you enjoyed this project. Be sure and check the blog post for photos and a link to the PDF pattern for this. If you haven't found my Facebook page, I would encourage you to do that. They saw a picture of this a few days ago. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.